Right, thank you so much for being with us here today, Wayne. My name is Desiree, and we're going to start off with these questions.
Great.
Number one is, would you support rehabbing, expanding, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
So we talking about downtown, or are we talking across the city in general?
I think across the city in general.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think that there's a lot of potential across Lowell, a lot of untapped potential. And, with just not huge investment, we can make a big difference in the feel of the neighborhood, the look of the neighborhood. And that's going to bring, more people in, and it's going to make it a better place to hang out, to shop, to grow up, to work, to, live. So I think that spending a little money to make the place look nicer and be more comfortable and welcoming would go a long way.
Thank you. Number two, is our Main Street downtown healthy and successful? Yes or no? If not, what would you do to change that?
Sure. So I live downtown. I live on Market Street. I love living downtown. I've lived downtown since 2009. So over a decade now, and I've seen a little change here and there. I've seen some things improve, some things stay the same. I would say that downtown is on its way to thriving. I think we were making some good strides before the pandemic happened. And unfortunately, I think the pandemic has kind of paused a lot of things, and we're still fighting our way out of that. I think the Economic Development Department in particular has done a great job with maintaining our business base in the downtown. Through the pandemic, they've really worked hand in hand with all the businesses downtown, and we really haven't lost many businesses when you look at Lowell compared to a lot of other communities around. I think they've done a good job with that. But now as we come out of the pandemic, I want to make sure that we maintain that hand-in-glove approach and really work with the existing businesses and new businesses to get them in and really cause the downtown to really get back to a thriving situation past the survival state that we've been in for the past couple of years. And I feel like you're starting to see that, just going out. We've got some new businesses that have opened, the bookstore, Flip Flop Vantage, Trend, Sahel, all these new places that have opened up in the past several months. And so I think this is really starting to build, and I hope we can keep building on that and continue to invest in the downtown and make it a great place to be.
Awesome, thank you. Number three, would you vote in support of a motion allocating from the city budget for incarcerated people who are being released back into society?
I would love to see what that would look like in general. I would certainly support something like that. I feel like a lot of people coming back out don't get the best re-entry into society, and it can really set you up to be in a situation where you end up back making the same mistakes or making additional mistakes that put you back incarcerated. And anyone who ends up in prison is still a member of our community, right? Like, we all grew up here. I didn't grow up in Lowell, but anybody who grew up here or grew up anywhere, if they make a mistake and they end up in jail, it needs to be rehabilitated, right? We don't put someone in jail just to punish them and be like, don't ever do that again. Like, we really got to help people and bring them back in and help them be a productive member of society. And whether that's work training programs or housing support or whatever else folks may need to really get a good entry back into society and really live the life that they want to live. I think it's incumbent on the city to really help people. We also get the state to help us with that, because this is a state level thing as well. And the state's got a lot more resources than the city does. So I think we need to build better programs to help people when they come back out.
Thank you. Number four, as UTEC, we value equality. We as organizers try to decrease racism and violence in the streets. How would you vote on a motion that says racism is a public health issue?
I would absolutely vote to approve that. I was very disappointed when it didn't pass at the city council. A few months ago when that came up, I was happy that the school committee did approve it, because it is, when you just simply look at the data, when you look at what it means to be white in our society versus not white in our society, and what that means for your health, what that means for your economic opportunities, it's clear as day. One stat that I've cited repeatedly is the maternal mortality rate for Black women in the United States. It is so much higher than any other race. Melanin in your skin doesn't mean that you should die during childbirth, right? Like, how have we built a system where this is happening? This continued to happen for as long as it has. It's really time to sit back and figure it out and get on top of it, because it's just not right. And it's something that when I worked at the community health center for a year and a half, I was really impressed with all the work that the health center did with the outreach to all the various communities in Lowell. And I think that they've got a good foundation, and they're doing work, but they can only do so much. And so anything that we can do as a city council to help push that forward, and recognizing it as a public health crisis, as racism as a public health crisis, is step one. We can't do anything until we've accepted the reality of what the data is telling us.
Awesome, thank you. This is our last question. It might be a little tricky. Do you support having our own version of the Kario Law? If you don't know what the Kario Law is, I can explain it to you.
Yes, please.
Okay, so Kario's Law, Buffalo Police Officer Kario Horn, a series of laws that make it a crime for a law enforcement officer to fail to intervene when another officer is using excessive force, and also protects whistleblowers. Included in Kario's Law was a provision, retroactive protection for officers, which allows an officer found to have been terminated for reporting the objectively unreasonable use of force against a civilian or intervening to stop the use of objectively unreasonable force by a fellow officer within the 20-year period preceding the adoption of the law, to have that finding reviewed by a court.
I think I absolutely would. Lowell, the Lowell Police and the other police agencies in Lowell, that's the National Park Service, the police at the university, I think that they've done a good job of being a community police organization. I think Chief Richardson in particular has done a good job of pushing this forward. But being community policing, you really got to put community first, right? And so a measure like that, I think, would go a long way into really integrating the police force in the community and make them more responsive, and make the people in the city who are interacting with the police feel safer, and know that if something happens, that that those other officers who are involved will be more inclined to step in and stop something when something's going wrong. Every opportunity we can have to build a better relationship between the police and the community, I think, is something that we should explore and something we should really dive into. And I'd love to learn more about that and really get some more information and figure out what we can do with that more.
Awesome, thank you. That was all of our questions that we've had for you today.
Well, thank you very much.